afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our third panel discussion. Welcome to our panelists and welcome to all of those Toastmasters out there watching us live. I hope you enjoy this interactive panel discussion this afternoon. Our participants today have all come from non-English speaking backgrounds. They've come to Australia from overseas and most of them couldn't speak much English when they arrived here. And we want to know a bit about how they coped with learning English and also how Toastmasters helped them. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask each of our participants to introduce themselves. I'll call their name and they'll introduce themselves, tell us what country they came from, what's their native tongue, and in fact, I know a few of them can speak several languages, so they can tell us that, and also how long they've been in Australia and how long they've been in Toastmasters. So let's start with Suresh.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Barbara. I am from India, the south of India, the state of Kerala. My mother tongue is Malayalam. I speak about 6 languages, most of them from the south of India. But then the reason why I picked up those languages is because I schooled in different states, and every state you learn the language. So I've got 6 languages under my belt. I've been in Australia since early 2008. I'm an Australian citizen now, a proud Australian citizen. And I've been with Toastmasters for the last 2 years.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Please welcome Sachiko.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sachiko Forsyth. I'm from Japan. I arrived on the Sunshine Coast in 2014. So I have been living in Nambo for 6 years. And I'm Japanese, so I can speak only Japanese. English is always difficult for me. And also, but I was a Toastmaster. I became a Toastmaster member in Japan 2005. But some reason I couldn't join the meeting. I think only twice for many years. Just twice I joined. But I rejoined the Toastmasters Club in Nambo in 2017.
Thank you so much, Sachiko. Let's welcome Eva.
Hello, everyone. My name's Eva. I'm Swedish. I came to Australia in 1982, so I've been here for 38 years. I speak Swedish and English. And I've been a Toastmaster member for 13 years. I initially joined in the small club of Ingham, a little sugarcane town. And I'm still here.
Thank you, Eva. Please welcome Esther.
Hello, everyone. I'm Esther. I'm from Germany. And obviously my mother language is German. I've also learned, other than English, I've learned a bit of French at school and Latin, which I haven't used since then. And so just for private touristy matters, I learned a bit of Spanish. So in 2007, I came to Australia, which is now already 13 years ago. And I've been in Toastmasters for 4 years.
Thank you so much, Esther. Please welcome Elsa.
Hello, everyone. My name's Elsa Frozen, but not Chinese version. I'm Chinese. I'm from south of China. It's a town called Anhua. So I speak the local village indigenous language and also the city language. Of course, my mother tongue is Mandarin. Then English is number, I think, 4th, you could say. Then I have been in Australia about 7 years, and I was very fortunate. I've been with Toastmaster for 6 years.
Wonderful. Thank you, Elsa. And now please welcome Titch.
Thank you, Barbara. My name is Titch. I'm from Zimbabwe, which is a country in Southern Africa. My mother tongue is Shona, which is spoken in most parts of the eastern and perhaps southern parts of the country. The other languages I speak are Ndebele, which is the other major indigenous language spoken mostly in the western parts of the country. I also speak some Venda and isiZulu and Sesotho, which are all Southern African languages. And in my adult years, I've also tried to learn Portuguese, and I'm fairly fluent in it as well. So yeah, that's my language pack.
Thank you so much, Titch. That just amazes me because most Australians speak one language, English. And Titch did tell me that he actually grew up learning English from childhood. So he speaks English very well, just like the rest of us. But what I would like to know, Titch, is we Australians use a lot of slang. Did that cause any problems for you when you first came to Australia, understanding our slang?
Yes, I would say it did, because it's mostly very unfamiliar slang, and I think it's very specific to Australia. And in terms of the television and other media that we generally encounter back home, it would probably be American or British type of English, and the slang that goes with those places. So coming to Australia, there are a lot of words that are very new and make it a bit difficult for you to generally understand what people are speaking about. But I think more in the big towns, it's not so much, but it's only when you get into more very localized communities that people begin to speak, and you really find it difficult to follow, because it's very much the informal local lingo that they speak.
Thank you so much, Titch. Did anyone else want to make a comment about Australian slang? Yes, Suresh.
Yeah, I think I could share a couple of my experiences when I came in and was exposed to the Australian slang, which I never heard about in my life. Especially when the first day when I walked into the department store at Woolworths, and I was at the checkout counter, and this young, beautiful girl actually greeted me by saying, "How you going?" And I was there standing and saying, "Oh, I live around the corner. I'll be walking home." And I don't know what she felt about me, but obviously it wasn't very positive, I'm sure. The other thing was this thing about when at work, I invited my staff for lunch, and one guy came up to me and said, "Is this your shout?" And I said, "No, it's just lunch. I'm not shouting. I'm having a lunch. And we are having lunch." And later on, one of my senior staff said that shout means, "Are you paying for it?" I said, "Oh my gosh." So yeah, I think this is I haven't really picked up all of it, but it's amazing how much there is. I believe there's a dictionary of English, of Australian slang, I understand.
One of the common errors for people are when they're invited to a function and told to bring a plate. So they bring a plate with nothing on it. Elsa, did you want to comment on Australian slang?
I have been traveled in central Queensland a bit. So such as redneck at the start, I have no idea what is that. Now, I think I just spoken a lot of wrong language and slang on it, and I think most of the time Australia is very forgivable, and they always let us go if we made a very silly mistake. They know you, so I might slowly get used to slang, but I will never have a chance to learn many of them.
So while we've got you speaking, Elsa, What support were you given to learn English before you joined Toastmasters?
I only know Toastmasters after I arrived in Australia about 7 years ago. When we were in China, we started to learn English in about year 8 or year 9 in the late 1990s. And most of teachers, they taught us only by written or reading, never taught us by how speaking. And I remember those old days, I go to buy all those tape recording. I'm not sure anybody remember from Panasonic or Sony. So the language they play there is totally different as what my teacher taught me. I was so stressed out to learning English at the young age. Not until when I went to uni in early 2000 in China, is a very famous program called Crazy English. It's basically tell you, shout it out, swear in English. So at that time in my 20s, I start to just learn how to speak in. After I arrived in Australia, I started a uni course. We have a pathway. It's called EAP course for all the university international students. That's a program to help us to improve our reading, speaking, or listening, or written. But I still couldn't speak much fluent. Like right now I spoke. So I got a lot of ups and downs to learning English, but not until I'm finally joined Toastmasters, went to a very supportive speaking environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Now, Esther, I think you had your hand up with regards to slang, but
You were just muted, but I think I have something to add to what Elsa said. So in Germany, for example, it's quite difficult to get exposed to the English language because movies, for example, they all get translated into German. So one has to make really an effort to get exposed to English. And so before we moved to Australia, I actually joined the English circle. And so we met once a week, and group of people. So some were from English-speaking countries, others were just Germans who are interested in English. So that helped me to practice a little bit my English. And when I arrived in Australia, I actually took some English classes to get a bit better, to practice. And also I made a commitment with my husband that we speak English at home. I guess that helped us also to get a bit quicker into English, even though we have probably developed our own way of speaking English. So it's maybe not all correct, but we how we communicate with each other.
Suresh, what did you find the hardest thing about learning English?
Thank you, Barbara. I think that's a double-edged sword there. The hardest thing for me is, since I came through an English medium school, which is the the Franciscan brothers, we had the English was taught to us in the medium of language was English. I think what I'm struggling with in the English language is the way Indians speak English. Probably it's the accent and the pronunciation of certain words. Now, there are a couple of things that actually add to making our English a little more difficult. We inherited English from the British, of course, before they left. That was the only thing we inherited from them. And I'm now faced with I think the speed at which we speak. People, especially here in Australia, they actually are very clear in what they say, whereas we Indians rush through. Our mind is racing, and we are trying to keep up with that. The other thing is the American English versus the British English, which is extremely confusing because if you go through I was trying to figure out to see what the differences were. For example, in British English, a shop is a shop, whereas in the American English, it's a store. In the British English, the chips that we eat here are chips, whereas in America, they are French fries. They're not French anyways, but they're called French fries for some reason. And also the spellings that you have between the British English and the American English. Like, for example, burnt, B-U-R-N-T, burnt, in America is B-U-R-N-E-D, burned. And also dreamt, D-R-E-A-M-T. T, we ended with T, whereas they ended with ED, burned. So these are the few nuances with which I struggle with. And also, of course, the great Australian slang, and which is something that challenges me with my English. And I remember my first few days in my office, I couldn't understand a single joke. I was wondering why they were all laughing, and here I was trying to figure out what was so funny. So yeah, that's as far as that. I think it's from the English. The way we speak English is probably different to country. I was fortunate to be in the aviation industry, so I've had a chance to be exposed to people from different countries, Germany, Switzerland, all those guys. But the fact is, it's only when you come to a country and live there that you realize your English is not as the same as that local. So yeah, I think that's the part which I find hardest.
Mm-hmm. Eva, did you want to comment on that, coming from Sweden?
The challenges in Australia, I find they speak very quickly. So coming as a foreigner, it's difficult to keep up also when they speak using slang. And also Australians don't open their mouth when they speak. They speak like this. This is maybe because of all the flies. All the flies. So I tend to read people's lips when they speak. And if they don't open their mouth, you don't have a hope. So yes, it was very challenging coming to Australia, between the slang, not opening the mouth, not pronouncing the words properly.
Did you speak any English when you first came?
No, my family came out initially when I was a child in the early 70s, didn't know any English, and there was no such thing as having English assistants in school. You were thrown in the deep end and you had to sink or swim. And then I came back, years later, and then my English was a lot more developed, so it was easier to catch up again.
Mm-hmm. So Chico, how has Toastmasters helped you in learning English?
Okay, I arrived in 2014 on the Sunshine Coast. Then I really want to learn English. I want to speak to people. I want to get to communicate to local people, and I really wanted. So at first I did join the school. It's government provide place for immigrate people to learn English and TAFE. But then I went there, but I made lots of friends, but all of friends they are foreigner too. So I thought this way I want to get more place to communicate with Australian people. So I decided to go to Nambo Toastmasters Club. Then I met people who can speak very well, and they try to speak very clearly and always have pause. I can't. And I thought it's really good for listening practice and also speaking practice too. So I really joined the Toastmasters Club. It's for me, it's much better to go to school, really. So I still continue.
So Elsa, I'm going to extend that question a little bit for you. So how has Toastmasters helped you to integrate into the local culture?
Okay, just like Sachiko said, met local people. I believe all of us, Toastmaster opened door for us to meet local members. But for my personal experience, I came to Australia by no one eventually. So I joined a QUT Young Achievers Toastmaster at uni. It opened the door for me to make lifelong friends. I meet people from Asian, African, South America, Europe, all over the world, local, multinational. But when I travel for work to Central Queensland by myself, I will be always the only Asian in the restaurant, on the road. So nowhere else have people looks like me. So everywhere I go Rocky or Gladstone or Bundaberg, I will search a local Toastmaster club. So I always join their meeting. Then I met a lot of chance to meet local business person, local citizen. And since then, I don't travel to Central Queensland that much more anymore, but I still keep contact with them. And some of them, they still come to Brisbane to visit me. So that is such a great experience as a foreigner live here to travel along the way to regional Australia to meet local people and integrate it with them and make a great connection with them, I think. Back to you, Barbara. You're on mute.
Titch, would you like to add to that? How has Toastmasters helped you get used to Australian culture?
I think joining the university Toastmasters, well, actually, I shopped around a bit, visited a number of clubs within Townsville, and it helped me to meet a lot of people and begin to appreciate and integrate more with the culture. As well, it speeded up the process, if I can say, than would have happened if I had not done so, because I think it's one of the it was one of the open groups of people that I could engage with and get that professional exposure to Australian culture and Australian way of doing things, and informal gatherings, etc.
Thanks. Eva, how has Toastmasters helped you in your career?
I think Toastmaster has been a very important part of my career. When I joined Toastmasters, I was a small business owner dealing with people from all walks of life. It gave me the confidence to speak to people, not only one-on-one, but also in larger groups, and then eventually into a large audience. I was also teaching horticulture. Even though I didn't have a problem speaking with people in a group, it gave me just so many more tools, so many more skills. So years later down the track, when I was a university lecturer, it really helped me connect, knowing how to communicate with people, and having English as a second language. I fully understood how my international students, how they felt, why perhaps they didn't understand certain sections or parts, and also being able then to explain it from another angle so people could understand. So it's been very, very useful. Also, being able to think on your feet. People can come up talking to me, and I don't have a problem. I can talk about anything to anybody thanks to Toastmasters. It's all about the confidence. And then I've been interviewed on radio, on TV. Also, don't have a problem with that, because we practice at Toastmasters for real life. And then it's very important, I think, to bring that out in the community. So I've been working with community organisations, and also haven't had an issue with that. Also, something like writing reports or writing assignments. When I was studying, we learned how to write with a good structure in Toastmasters, and how to catch the readers or the audience attention, and also leave it with a a message. We've learned all of that. So at many times I've felt I didn't have the same problems and issues as other business people or other students because of Toastmasters. So Toastmasters changed my life, and I don't say that lightly.
Thank you, Eva. Would anyone else like to comment on how Toastmasters impact on your career? Okay. Yes, Elsa.
Okay. So recent year, for a lot of international students, a lot of us cannot find a job, and because of serious reason, but Toastmasters have helped me find a job. And I bumped into interview. I'm just so good at to answer all those impromptu questions which we learn from Toastmaster, like type topics. So I would say I never failed any interview since I started to looking for a job. I didn't get this skill by a university degree from Australia. I spent heaps of money for my university degree, which is, of course, helped my professional skill. But Toastmaster has definitely helped me open the door to job seeking.
Excellent. Thank you, Elsa. Now, Esther, what is the best thing that Toastmasters has taught you?
Barbara, I think the best thing the Toastmaster taught me is being able to get up and speak confidently in front of an audience. So before I joined Toastmaster, I didn't really feel comfortable to give a speech in public, and particularly not in English. And so, as already Eva said, Toastmasters provides with very hands-on guidelines how to prepare a speech and what to consider when holding a speech. So what I find very helpful is the approach by Toastmaster on how to structure a speech and to make it logical and effective. And I also like how projects can focus on a particular aspect while presenting. For example, one project focuses on making eye contact, when one focuses on being aware of unnecessary fill words, or one project provides guidance how to find a confident posture. Another one is about modulating the voice and so on. But actually, most importantly, I think Toastmasters gave and still gives me plenty of opportunities to practice. And I believe practicing over and over again, that's the most important to achieve any improvements. And every Toastmaster meeting really gives me a chance to speak in front of an audience. And now holding a speech is much less nerve-wracking for me than it was before I joined Toastmaster. And it helps me in my professional life as well. Mm-hmm. So if I'm asked to give a presentation, when I'm not stressed out about it. No, I think continuous learning and practicing as Toastmaster makes me feel just more comfortable and confident with giving a speak in public.
Thank you so much, Esther. Yeah, it's definitely, especially an adult learning principle of learn by doing, not just adult learning. Does anyone else want to make a comment on that? The best thing that Toastmasters has taught you? Okay, we'll move on to the last question that I've got. And I've got this for Suresh. What's your favourite activity in Toastmasters?
I wish I could name one, Barbara, because I think everything about Toastmasters, the whole atmosphere, starting the evening with, getting to say hello to everyone, the inclusive atmosphere that is there, the encouraging atmosphere that you have. I used to hate table topics, and now I don't mind because I can now think on my feet. I mean, literally, I'm sitting and thinking, but it's it's been fantastic. That the journey has been marvelous. And why was it possible? Because you have an encouraging audience. The team is encouraging you to grow, and that gives you that confidence that you can do better. And I think that's the best part of Toastmasters. And now my favorite activity obviously has moved on from table topics to actually giving the feedback, the assessments. And I think that is because as an Indian, we don't wait to listen. I got to practice my listening skills, and you need it. And I've been having a meeting in that table topics. I've been watching people doing some marvelous feedback sessions, and I am learning that, and I'm going to take that as a serious next step for me. So that is now my favorite. I like the way people actually listen to what's going on and giving the right encouragement at the right spot, and also giving them one challenge or two challenging spots. And I think that's the way it works. And now that is my favorite activity. I also start listening to what people say. I do believe that's given me a lot of encouragement and confidence. I'm building that up, and it's been a marvelous journey so far, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you so much. Satiko, what's your favorite part of a Toastmasters meeting?
Yes, it's table topic session is my favorite. But used to, I hate it. I hate it. Just so stress. Many times, the topic was beyond my comprehension. Sometimes, often, I can't understand what topic is. It's awful. So I always pray. Not to me. But I joined the midday topic session Toastmasters Club. Then it's 12 o'clock every day topic session. Then my stress is gone. I didn't mind. So and topic session became my best time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. What about Titch? What's your favorite part of a Toastmasters meeting?
I would probably agree with the previous speakers. I think table topics comes out on top for me as well, because it builds up those many skills in this one activity where you have to listen actively, because the next topic read might be directed at you, and then you have to get up and speak and think on your feet in the moment, and try and put together a logical story, or at least something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and keep it short within the specific time, 2 minutes or so. So it's a lot of skills that you put to use at once, and I think it's very useful in terms of helping you get rid of overcome those nerves to stand up and speak in front of others. So definitely table topics for me as well.
Well done. Thank you, Titch. Well, we'll keep going around the room. Elsa, what's your favorite part of a Toastmasters meeting?
I just want to share a story about table topics in Central Queensland, Gladstone. So I was on the road one day, joined their meeting as a guest. As I walk into the room, nobody wanted to be a table topic master. Somebody just picked me. So I have no idea what am I going to do. I back to my car, grabbed my backpack, put whatever I can put in my backpack, then went into the room. Then my first topic, since I grabbed something from the back, is an ab row. I'm not sure some of you do that exercise. So I pulled out the ab row and did a speak, encourage anyone wanted to try this one and do a 2-minute speech. So there is a 17 years old members come on, grab the ab row and rolling in the floor. I was so panicked. he gonna to hurt himself or not. But opposite, and everyone was so much love, and the whole atmosphere in the room just all raised up. So that's something I loved topics as well, and think on your toe and always be creative and bring the club's atmosphere up.
Well done. And Esther, what's your favourite part of a Toastmasters meeting?
I think table topics, that's for me probably the most challenging part. So it's a kind of a love-hate relationship. I'm also always hoping, I hope I don't get asked this time. But then I'm disappointed actually if I don't get asked. So I want to do a table topic, because the satisfaction after having completed a table topic is also always great. I actually also love or enjoy putting a speech together, because it's quite the opposite, obviously. One sits when at home and crafts a speech and has plenty of time to find the right word. And so that's probably also where I can improve my English, because I then can make sure or can work on the grammar, can look words up if they are correct or if grammar is correct. So I like also putting a speech together and when holding a speech.
Well done, thank you. And Eva, what's your favourite part?
I really enjoy the speeches, because you never know what you're going to listen to. People come from all over the world, all age groups, all walks of life. So sometimes people give a speech about their hobby and interest, or maybe the country they came from when their childhood, or perhaps an educational speech for their work, for their profession, whatever that might be, or it could be an educational topic about communication, what we do within Toastmasters. So you never know what you're going to listen to, and some of the speeches, it just leaves you speechless, because you think, wow, this person was so brave to tell their story, or you think, that was really well done. I think I'm going to use that technique maybe when I deliver my next story. So all the speeches, different clubs are different, 2, 3, 4 speeches. I love the speechathons, when we have 6, 8 speeches in one night, and I can just sit back and be entertained.
Well done, thank you. And I think Elsa touched on a really important point. There's so much to be learnt from visiting other clubs. Whenever I go away on holidays, I try to visit a couple of clubs. I've visited clubs overseas, and it's like a big family. You walk inside that room and you've got a connection with those people already. And here today, every one of you has got a different cultural background. We've all come together, and it's Toastmasters that's brought us all together. And that's one of the beauties and the wonderful thing about Toastmasters. So if you know anyone who's new to Australia or new to your city, and especially someone who's come from overseas, encourage them to come along and try Toastmasters. I'm sure that they will be made to feel welcome, and it will help them learn the culture, the language, and make friends. So thank you very much to all our panelists today, and thank you to all those people out there watching us today live. I'm not sure how many are there, but I hope that you've enjoyed this session, and I hope you look forward to our next panel discussion in a month's time. Thank you so much.